LA is going to have a slightly different approach to the unhoused. The city council voted 13-2 to approve a new ordinance that the mayor, Eric Garcetti, who Anna Kasparian is a huge fan of, has now signed. So it makes it unlawful for people to sit, lie, sleep, or otherwise situate their belongings in the public right of way, a law that will almost exclusively disenfranchise the unhoused population of LA. I mean, that's itself, I think, a bit of an that's what it's for. That's the only thing that it's going to do. For context, the 2020 greater LA homeless count recorded 66,433 people living on the streets of LA County, a 12.1% increase from the previous year. And I'm just gonna guess that 2020 to 2021, which is a slightly hard year, probably has raised those numbers as well. So this ordinance is going to be targeting the, let's say, 70,000 people who are unhoused in the area. And it restricts sitting, lying, or sleeping, or storing, using, maintaining, or placing personal property in the public right of way. The measure makes it illegal to sit, lie, sleep, or set up encampments within 500 feet from sensitive use properties such as schools, parks, and libraries, and other areas such as overpasses, underpasses, freeway ramps, tunnels, bridges, pedestrian bridges, subways, washes, spreading grounds. I don't know what half of these things are, or active railways. So basically, LA, you can't within LA. And so we're gonna have some more details on how this is gonna work, sort of. But I guess it wasn't a foregone conclusion, Brett, that Garcetti was going to sign it, but he has, and so it looks like it is going to happen.
Well, this makes it a lot easier to ignore the problem. So that if that's what you want, like that, it actually is very helpful. You know what I mean? Like, because otherwise you have to address problems. You know, if you have a problem, people say the hardest part is acknowledging you have it. They've done that. They've acknowledged they have it. But rather than, as a mayor, leading the charge to find ways to handle this issue, they just classifies the unhousing, that problem of the unhoused as like, the problem is that we can see them. And I need to make it so that's not the case. So it's not a problem for the people that I actually care about. That's the issue. And I understand, like, there's certain issues, like people, but at that point, really, that's the only thing that's ringing very clear to me, which is they just want to get rid of it, because that the people who are on the city council, they all hear complaints from people who are active in complaining at city council meetings, who are not representative of the people who have it hardest. But you wouldn't notice that by the way that they complain about seeing homeless people.
Yeah, making that out to be the more difficult part of the bargain. Yeah, 100% right. And look, your overall point about how just sort of pretending that it's not a problem that needs to be fixed is, that's bad in a lot of different ways. So it's bad, I would argue morally. It's also sort of bad pragmatically, because this isn't a solution. You can criminalize all this stuff effectively. Like, I guess you're probably not allowed to just make it a crime to not have a house. But it seems like that's what this is designed to do. But there's 70,000 people who don't have a house. So what are you gonna do? Is the idea we're just going to lock them all up? Is the idea that, well, I guess we can't lock them up, but we can hassle them so much that we can just get them out of the county? Because this seems like it's just a solution to that. Now, they obviously, they're a little bit more savvy about this, and I'm sure there's probably a few people involved in this process that care about the problem too. It's a separate thing than voting for this, but they say that enforcement would be accompanied by the arrival of street engagement teams, social workers, mental health specialists, and others who would offer the unhoused shelter and services. Under the ordinance, those who violate those rules could receive citations. Once an area is cleared, outreach workers would return over a period of 3 months to see if homeless people return. If they have, additional outreach would be conducted to promote voluntary compliance, which is fun. So we're making it illegal, but we're also gonna have social workers which go out. I mean, you could just do that. You could just do that, and not lock up people for not having the resources for a house. And it's not like there already aren't. It's not like, oh, this is the dawn of a new age. Now there will be enforcement against the homeless, and like that is already a thing.
Well, there's a theme. There's an actual real theme in this. This is kind of in it, and I've mentioned it a lot. Like there needs to be consequences for a lot of stuff. Like there needs to be the consequence, or else people will just be like, so there's no consequence for me continuing to do this. And I'm not talking specifically about homelessness. People will continue to do that. But I agree with you 100%. Like folks going out there and saying, let's get you to the services. I completely agree with. What I need to see is the follow-up data to see if this, is this a great experiment? The benefit of the doubt interpretation of this is it's an experiment for that exact scenario. Does having the negative consequence of a citation make any sense? Are they going to pay it if the reason that they're out on the street is because they haven't been able to pay other things people have billed them for? That's 100%. Reinforced by the fact that there's an uptick in homelessness as a result of the economic shutdown. It's not that they closed and defunded some kind of housing facility. There's just more people that need to be in a housing facility or have some kind of safety net to catch them on the way down. Like I'm separating these issues into like what we're really doing. So afterwards, they need to double back and tell me that this worked. And if it didn't, what's the timeline on your experiment working out or not?
And I would love to see some stats in a year or in 2 years. I would also love a qualitative analysis, talking to unhoused people about their experience with this new system. Maybe that'll be a part of it. We'll see.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.